Did you ever think about your writing session as something that you actually have to protect? Hi, I'm Jubilee Lipsy, and welcome back to Writing Radiance, which is the writing tips section of my channel. I want to talk today about how I guard my writing sessions and actually move the needle on my projects. Because the thing is, I have a dirty little secret about my writing. I have been writing for years, and I truly believe that God was leading and guiding me and letting me grow and learn during that time, because the only way to grow and learn is to actually do the thing. I was spending so many years writing, but I had so many projects that were never finished because I would start and I would look at a paragraph and I would edit the heck out of it and rewrite it every time I looked at it, basically, and that could take days. And then I would go on to another paragraph and realize that all that work I did was basically pointless because now that paragraph didn't match up, and just mixing editing and revising and writing and perfectionisting myself out of finishing projects. Now, there is a place for just free writing and all of that stuff, and then there's a place for more focused study. But when you are working on something, whether it's a book of poems or a blog post or a novel, you want to guard that writing time. The first thing that you want to do in order to actually have a project that gets somewhere is, or if you already have one, is decide on your schedule where it makes the most sense to write and don't overcommit. Now, for this, you're going to have to practice a little bit. You're going to have to try different things, different times of the day. You're going to have to try, does an hour work for me? Does 30 minutes work for me? Is that all I have? Can I do it in the morning and afternoon or late at night? When does it make most sense for you to write? Then after you have a good place in mind, you have to define your seasonal goals and stick to them. It is so important to decide, okay, what am I actually working on in this season? And not just what is it, but where am I at in the process? For instance, if you're working on a novel, are you in the first draft stage where everything is still all over the place and you're just kind of free writing scenes and trying to piece them together? Or are you writing the first full draft where everything has to make sense? You've already interviewed your characters and you already have outlined the book and you're like, I need to write one chapter every day until I finish. Or are you in an editing stage? And what kind of editing? Developmental, or are you revising big parts of the story and moving them around? Or are you looking at detailed punctuation and such? Are you researching publishing? What is your goal this season with this particular project? And then chop that up into sessions, what you're going to do with each writing session, and then stick to that. Remind yourself each session, okay, this is what I'm going to do for 30 minutes. I'm just going to write this chapter, and then stick with it. Next, you need to prepare a detailed outline that tells you specifically what you're going to be writing and how. Now, this is mostly what helps me with writing a novel, but you could do this with a blog post or an article or something else. Basically, just do whatever works for you, whatever outline works for you on paper, on the computer, whatever. But I've needed to get more specific with it because I want my writing session to be for writing. I don't want to have to sit down and say, okay, I've got an hour to write a chapter and I know what's supposed to happen in the chapter, but I don't really know how to portray that. Allow your brainstorming and your researching and ironing out all those questions ahead of time to be on a different day, to be a different session. That way, when you're ready to write, you just glance at the outline that you jotted down before, and you've already worked out the scene. You've already worked out what you're gonna write, what's gonna happen, and how you're going to bring about that impact. What actions the characters are actually gonna take. You've already ironed that out ahead of time. Now all you have to do is take 5 minutes to review it and then jump right into writing. Separating my brainstorming and my writing sessions was revolutionary for me. And finally, resist the urge to polish what you're writing. Get the chapter done, and you can always edit later. The thing is, this sounds like a silly tip, but it is so revolutionary to getting a draft finished. You can't edit what isn't written. And the more you try to edit what is barely there, that's not actually editing. you're actually hurting your work. Editing is for when you have a fully formed tree and then you're trimming at the branches to make it more healthy. It's not perfectionisting yourself out of a draft. If you are writing a draft and you're doing a chapter a day or whatever you have decided to do, get that done for the day and then step away from it. There is so much power in coming back to look at it with fresh eyes on a separate day, but resist the urge to polish it every single time you look at it. Maybe make little notes as you go for things that you want to research and look into later. Like, I don't know, how to spell that word, or I don't know, I need to research how many miles it is from that city to that city. You can jot those things down as you're going. That way you don't forget them later. But if you are in a writing session, focus on the writing aspect of it. There's so much power to stepping away while you still love it, stepping away while you're still excited about it. That impact will affect your writing. If you are overtired and overexhausted and you've been overthinking it, that will affect how your writing sounds. So get the chapter done, step away from it, and come back and look at it with fresh eyes, and it will be better than you think. I'll see you next time.